Alright guys, it's time to start a new project, and here it is. This is my 1995 Chevrolet Camaro that we picked up a little while ago. Now, as you guys saw last month, we won the Sick Week Freaks class at Sick Summer. So it's time to up the ante. It's time to try and build something fast again, and what I'm hoping is that with this car, it won't matter who shows up for the class. We're gonna have something for them. Now, if you guys don't know much about these cars, they're about as good as you can get for a budget drag car. You can buy one of these for next to nothing. They feature a rear end that is very easy to adapt to drag racing and very easy to make go really, really fast. There are tons of aftermarket support for these chassis, and funny that I should mention that, one of the main sponsors for this build is BMR Suspension. They're actually hooking us up with a full front suspension kit, as well as some rear suspension goodies for this project. And before we get too deep into this video, I want to give you guys my affiliate code for BMR Suspension. If you use the code NIVLAC7, that will give you a 7% discount when you check out at BMR Suspension. Go check it out. Let's start with the rear suspension. As you can see, this car is set up with some pretty fancy wheels. It has a set of double beadlock wheels on the back with a Dana 60 rear end. Now, some of you might be pretty confused by that. Why on earth would you put a Dana 60 in this car when the Ford 9-inch exists? Well, this car was built quite a few years ago, and at the time, the GM guys were pretty resistant to putting a Ford rear in their Chevrolet. And therefore, Strange actually made an aftermarket casting for the Dana 60 rear, which is a bolt-in unit for a 4th gen Camaro. And this car just so happens to have come equipped with one. Now, this would scare most people away, but with a 10-inch ring gear, I think we'll figure out how to make that work. I know guys are getting some pretty serious power through a Dana 60, and it doesn't scare me off. Next, let's move on to the interior. As you can see, if I open up the door, this car is already equipped with a pretty serious cage. In fact, it's certed to 750 in the quarter mile, and I'm really looking forward to putting that to use. If you guys aren't familiar with buying a used car that already has a cage in the car, something that you should be aware of is, do you fit? Obviously, it's nice to be able to drive a car that you buy. That's kind of the whole point. And me being over 6 feet tall and having relatively long legs, it can sometimes be hard for me to find a car that I fit in. Luckily, these cars are set up with tons of leg room, and I'm happy to say that I fit into this thing pretty comfortably. The cage in this car is a little bit weird compared to others that I'm used to seeing. It is set up with a double frame rail, actually. Which is a little bit unconventional for a car that has the factory chassis still intact. Normally you would only see that on like a full tube chassis car, but this car still has the original frame from bumper to bumper, and hopefully that will play to our advantage. It's definitely going to promote a very stiff chassis, and you can tell that whoever did the chassis in this car really took their time and really spent a lot of energy to make this thing as rigid as possible and have as little weight as possible. Now, parts of this car are literally some of the nicest work that I have ever seen. One example is this sill bar right here. This is required for a 750 cert roll cage, but the way that they integrated it into the car is just masterful. As you can see, they notched all of the cross members out in the car and welded them in to actually make it part of the structure of the car. And this bar here actually acts as sort of a frame connector, and it ties into the rear suspension where a lot of the force from the rear end pushes it onto the chassis of the car. They actually took this sill bar, and it's a little bit hard to see, but it ties right into this mount right here, and I'm extremely happy with how this was done. Other aspects of the car are a complete disaster, and one of those aspects is the steering. Obviously, they were trying to make clearance for some massive set of headers, probably had a big block Chevy in it or something. They also hacked up the K-member to make these steering adjustments. Luckily, BMR has hooked us up with a brand new K-member to fix all of these issues. So here's what I mean by the steering on this thing is an utter disaster. When you steer it one way, it steers that far, and when you steer it the other way, it only turns that far. Now, one of the modifications that we're going to do to the front of this thing is we're going to do the Rock Solid Motorsports tubular front end kit. So basically from about this point forward, gets cut off and replaced with tubing. It should save about 50 pounds of weight, and it's all right there at the front of the car. So definitely weight you want to go after. But in order to do that, it would be nice for this car to be elevated and also square and level. Now, normally when people are doing chassis work, they would put this thing up onto a chassis table or a chassis jig and level and square the thing up. But we don't have one of those, and they're quite expensive. So we're going to do something a little bit different. We won these quick jacks the last time we participated at the Grassroots Motorsports Challenge. And what I'm hoping is that these will elevate the car and keep it square and level. So that when we're measuring points on the chassis here and putting the tubes out into thin air, we can use measurements that are reliable. Now, I should mention that the floor here, my dad had specially poured to be perfectly level. A lot of shops that you'll work in, they'll have a slight slope to the concrete in order to sort of funnel liquid out the door. But my dad specifically requested that the floor, at least in this particular area, be perfectly level. So we can use that as sort of a datum in order to set up the chassis on this thing. So with that, let's try these quick jacks out. All right, here we go. And if we look at how level the chassis is, I gotta say, I don't know how you get a whole lot better than that.
Doink. Hello.
And then I can use this for an alignment jack. Goodness.
No, I'm breaking my car.
Oh my goodness. That's ridiculous.
This one.
Aren't they light? Aren't they light?
Yes, they are.
Plastic.
You're gonna hold it with one finger.
That means you gotta be careful with it.
Well, where are you putting it?
Rough look.
Right outside with it?
Yep. ladies and gentlemen, as you can see behind me, we just installed the engine for its first mock-up. And I feel like this is a convenient point to sort of go over my goals for this build. Now, as you can see, we're taking just about every aspect of the 4200 builds that we have done in the past and turning it to 11. So to start off, let's talk about this. We have developed this motor plate for the front of the engine, and this is something that you see on very high-end race cars. We still have quite a bit of work to do to finish up the front part here, but the plan is to design a billet piece that goes in here and houses the front main seal, as well as have a little window here so that we can access the tensioner without pulling the damper in the case that we need to inspect things. And I'm probably going to add a provision here to add a fitting here or some sort of interface to feed oil into the factory oil pump discharge flange. And that kind of brings me to what we're doing with the oiling system. With the oiling system, I either want to go with a dry sump oiling system or at the very least an external oil pump. Now on all of our other builds with the 4200, we are running the factory oil pump. And at high RPM, we have noticed that it has started to cavitate, and we are seeing the oil pressure go down with higher RPM. So the idea here is to get an oil pump onto this thing and be able to change the pulley ratio between the crankshaft and the oil pump itself. We will likely be under driving the oil pump, meaning we are going to be spinning the oil pump at a slower speed than the engine. So probably on our first go around, we will put a wet sump with an external oil pump onto this thing. So that's what we're going to do there. Now, if we move back behind the engine, you'll notice that we have a mock-up piece here in the transmission tunnel. This is a mock-up piece that I bought off of eBay, and it is meant to mimic the dimensions of an 8 HP 70. Now, the goal for this build is to run an 8 HP transmission, but we're probably going to end up with an 8 HP 90. They put those transmissions behind the Hellcat series engines, as well as the Demons, and basically, we're going to be making enough horsepower with this engine that I think we're going to need it. I really loved how my Trailblazer performed with the 8 HP 70, and that has made me have the desire to put that transmission into something a little bit more serious. So that's what we're going to do. Now, because we are running that transmission, we're going to have to run one of our adapter plates, as you see here, as well as a max ECU of some sort. We need to put the max ECU custom firmware onto the transmission. For the turbo, we're going to be running a Bullseye 8388 turbo, and it will have one of their TCT compressor wheels on the thing. If you guys followed our Sunbird build, you'll know that I was very happy with the 8088 that they provided for that, and that was their lowest rung on the totem pole for the compressor wheels that they offer. But we are now going to be moving to the top shelf, the TCT series, and I'm really excited to see how it performs. Additionally, I want to run a large water-to-air intercooler, and the goal there is to get the engine and turbo system to be as efficient as possible and really go at this thing with both barrels loaded. Now, the last thing that we're going to talk about is the camshafts. We are going to be running a far more aggressive camshaft grind, which I'm going to talk about in later videos, but basically my goal with this little segment here is we're going to be taking things to the next level. So I'm really excited to share with you guys the future development that we're going to be doing with the 4200, so I hope you're as excited as I am. Before we end this video off, I want to promote an event that we will be at coming up in August. It is the second annual Atlas Nationals. It's taking place at Kilcare Raceway, August 17th. See you guys there.